Not sure why that stream died on me. I don't like it. Hopefully it doesn't make a habit of that. Alright, try this again. Jaybird, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you? It's always an interesting experience, like when you do something all the time, like drawing in this case, but then you haven't done it in, like, honestly, I've hardly done any drawing on paper in the last 3 weeks, I'd say, because everything at work was digital for what I was doing the last few weeks. And so to come back to something that really, like, I know very, very well, and yet to feel like just kind of not that confident with it, like I know I should be. So, you know, that's where I'll just take my time, go slow, make the right choices, hopefully. Just try my best not to fuck it up. The usual. So really, what's different? Let's try. In this particular case, what I'll usually do if I am feeling a little rusty on something, like, and in this case, it's more the tools, the medium. So what I'll do is I'll kind of indicate some of the details up to a certain point, and then I'll kind of just start getting into some shadows that'll really start to force me to design the image a bit, to think about the design a little more in terms of the value grouping and all that. Because at the end of the day, I feel like I can get away with a lot of kind of funkiness in the drawing if it's a well-designed image, right? So I'll start to kind of get into the shadow design, which will also allow me to sort of not hide some stuff, not like I can't draw it or something, but just, you know, if you're gonna get into the shadows, there's no point in detailing the hell out of it all, right? Or vice versa. You could have a value design where the lights are blown out, right? You're exposing for the shadows. So then detail would be in the shadows and not in the lights. And for anyone that doesn't know, I did the rough in a 50% Prismacolor, 50% cool gray. This guy right here, 50% cool gray Prismacolor pencil. Kept it really light. You don't want to go too opaque with it, otherwise it'll show up in the final drawing. But if you keep it light, keep it transparent, it'll just disappear by the end. Good morning. And I am working on Duraline. So acetate. You can see it's transparent. Ooh, transparency. Should say translucent. It's not transparent. It's translucent. Semantics, but hey, that shit's important. We gotta say what we mean and mean what we say, damn it. How's everyone doing this morning? I hope you're all doing well. Chime in on the chat if you want. Join MDR Concepts and the Jaybird. And then we can all talk art on a fine Monday morning. Because what the hell else are we going to do on a Monday? Good morning, Merc. And yes, acetate is very buttery. It's one of the reasons I actually really love it. It's not for everyone. The techniques that I use on acetate, you can also do it on tracing paper or vellum if you're someone that likes more tooth. I don't for what I do. There are times that I love drawing on something toothy, but I actually prefer that with ink rather than pencil, and especially these kinds of techniques that I use, I tend to want more detail, so that's where the nice buttery texture helps me out a lot. I used to draw on tracing paper with this for work, but I felt like I was always kind of battling it, I guess. Welcome, Suzusu. Yeah, it was a while. Like I just started streaming again. Maybe, I don't know, when was it? Month and a half, 2 months ago, maybe a little more. September, I guess. Maybe almost 3 months ago. No, I hope it hasn't been that long because I don't know where the time goes then. But yeah, before that, I had not streamed in a while. Honestly, I was trying to figure out a good setup for streaming traditional media. It's not as simple as I thought it would be, and not as simple as I think it should be. It was like, I mean, there are ways to do it very simply, but it just wasn't picking up the detail that I needed, right? Like if I'm doing these little pencil lines, I want people to be able to see them. And the stuff that I was doing, like that was much easier in terms of setup, just wasn't doing the pencils any kind of service. And I didn't just want to stream digital. Because I do mostly traditional, even at work. Except recently. There are exceptions every now and again. Wow, yeah, that was a while ago. That was a monk and fish piece. And I think I was still kind of trying to figure out. I still oscillate on it stylistically. Because in my head I see it as a traditional animation, and yet there are aspects of it where I'm like, oh, but it would be so fun to, have it like more rendered out than that. But at the end of the day, I love hand-drawn animation, so that's probably the way that I will push. So at some point, I will probably pitch it to someone eventually. Realistically, I probably have enough on the project to pitch it now. I'm just a little bit of a perfectionist, so I just want to make sure it looks the way that I want. We'll see. I agree, Odd Mimic. Hand-drawn is always better. Even though, obviously, I think there is a place for CG, but I feel like for certain types of stories, like design-wise, I think the hand-drawn animation just lends itself better, especially because it would involve like a lot of martial arts type stuff, and I just think that looks better when you can really exaggerate it in terms of squash and stretch, in a way that I think computer animation doesn't quite do as well, although at the same time Kung Fu Panda did a pretty damn good job with the martial arts. So I don't know. I do know. I still like the traditional look. I love line tests. I love just as simple as some of them are. I absolutely love the rough animation line tests. They make me really happy. Like, I could probably watch an entire movie that was just done as a line test. Meaning, if it had still had all the voiceover and all that stuff, like, that'd be rad. I'd totally watch that. I just think of like Legend of Korra and Last Airbender, and they just wouldn't have been nearly as cool, and like even if they had been done as movies, if they had been done in like 3D animation, I just don't think they would have the same character. Granted, Studio Mir is also just an amazing animation studio, so what they were able to achieve in a TV show, in 2 TV shows, was pretty amazing. I never did see what they did with Boondocks, other than a couple little clips, but it looked cool. But yeah, I love their stuff, so I'm hoping for them that they get Koji up and off the ground, because I'd love to see more of their work. Yeah, director Choi, he did an amazing job, especially that first season of Korra, with a lot of those bigger fight scenes. He was kind of the guy. And he was fantastic. His animation is just rock solid. His sense of action is pretty incredible. And just the way that he will freely animate camera moves it just kind of blows my mind a little bit. So I thought I was gonna get into the shadow design more, but apparently I'm kind of having fun with some of the line work. We'll get to the shadows soon. So it's funny when I'm not really like fully warmed up. I'll tend to, be a little more tentative and do some lines and then get into the form. But when I get more warmed up, then I can just go right into kind of modeling the form more. And it's hard not to get a little impatient. Try not to get too impatient. Yes, Autumn, I model. Modeled the form. But that's where I will keep the initial lines, like those couple of straight lines for this sword handle. I'll keep them light because, again, with this technique, since I'll work on both sides, some of that stuff will kind of disappear if you keep it transparent. So oftentimes it might look a little messier in some ways than it will in the final. So and it's funny, Suzu Sue, yeah, I didn't used to show my face when I would stream just because I didn't think that people really cared, but apparently people like to see who they're listening to. I guess that kind of makes sense, right? You can kind of feel like you're hanging out with them a little bit. You get to know them a little more in some ways, since we do base a lot on mannerisms. Um, and I just know, like, I'd looked at a lot of stuff where people were saying that even when people were streaming something that had nothing to do with the face, like with people per se, they still wanted to see the person, even if someone was just talking about like tech gear. The last time I used charcoal on newsprint was probably a few months ago at work. I had a particular project that it just sort of warranted that kind of texture, and more texture than I would get on this. And so I actually ended up doing it pretty much all with vine charcoal, which of course presents its own kind of challenges, but it worked out well, and I got some really good stuff out of it. Had a lot of fun. Part of me wanted to do that more often for jobs, but it does take a bit longer to kind of build up the necessary values, especially if you're working in Vine. Just the other stuff didn't allow me as much freedom. Some of the other compressed charcoal didn't allow me as much freedom to kind of push and pull the lights around. At least with Vine charcoal, I could pretty much just completely erase it if need be. Again, any Twitch mods, she's not actually going to be fully exposed. She's going to have body paint. Don't panic. For the viewers, sorry. She's not going to be fully exposed. Because Twitch right now doesn't have a way of like differentiating, I guess. I mean, they haven't gotten into the particulars of what the rules are for nudity in art, and so they just kind of have this general like no nudity, and it doesn't matter if it's non-sexual. And I get it, like, where do you draw the line, right? Everyone has their own ideas of what's appropriate and what isn't. Yeah, no, right now you're not supposed to. I'm just not I'm not gonna worry about it. Oh no. Problem is the body paint won't come in until right toward the end. So, oh well. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a bit much to, and I'm assuming that they kind of take some of that into account. Like I think that just covers them to be able to remove stuff right now. But I sort of get the feeling that they don't just blanket, like, you know, remove or freeze people's accounts every single time, right? I think for them it's just kind of covering their bases a bit, covering their asses, which I understand. You have to, right? And you need the freedom to remove the stuff that really does get inappropriate and just be able to be like, look at the rules. Although I will say, I looked for a while and it was not easy to find their rules around streaming art. It was like several levels deep, and I had to consciously like seek it out. So, you know, specifically for like for that, for what the rules were with nudity in art. And because, like, you know, even if I draw some girl in, like, sexy lingerie or something like that, like, the figure will almost never be doing something sexual, you know, because I don't really feel the need to do that. I figure hot girl's a hot girl no matter what she's doing, right? She can be buying groceries and she's still hot, though. If she's buying groceries and lingerie, that might be a little awkward. Awkward. This is always the hard part, the moment of truth, when you flip this thing over. Cool. It's a little off. And I have to decide if I want to fix that or not. I kind of do. The other difficulty when I haven't been drawing much. Sometimes the proportions will get away from me just a little. Yeah, I don't know what, honestly, like, I don't know what, like, how they moderate on Twitch. Like, if they just have, I'm assuming they have people, because I don't think that an algorithm would work for this, but I could be wrong. I'm trying to find a dark brown. I want to do a slightly warm tone. I don't want to go super warm, but I want it warmer than just like what the... This is a 90% cool gray. This is what I use on the back for tone, so it never goes as dark as the black on the front. But sometimes this is cooler than I might want. And so I'll kind of warm it up a bit with some brown. It's a different look, like you could use the warm gray, but I don't know, for some reason I don't really like that color. I prefer the look of the cool gray with some dark brown mixed in. Brand new shop towel! Yay! Of course, the thing when you do this with a brand new towel, that's like totally clean, it'll actually pick up more of the pigment. So that I'll usually just end up putting a little more pigment down. Yeah, time-lapse, it just doesn't quite really give you a sense of what it's really like. It makes it all look so much easier than it really is. But it's a lie. It's a lie. This is Gamsol, so it's just odorless or natural mineral spirits made by Gamblin. Used for oil painting instead of turpentine, and I just put it in a little squeeze bottle and apparently get it all over my fingers. That's cool. Put it on a shop towel, and smudge it around. So what I like about this tone, as opposed to the warm gray, is there's something about that dark brown that I think gives it a little more of a glow to the color. Yeah, I'm really not a fan of the warm gray for this. There are times that I've used it combined with the cool gray, or like in different parts, just to have that contrast of warm and cool, like you might do with like Copic markers, right? You can do the same thing. And then I'll just flip over to the dry side of the towel, and this is only if I want that tone to be a bit smoother. And I think I want it a bit darker too. So we'll just, rinse and repeat. If I get cancer fingers, it'll probably be because of the times that I've smudged cadmium. Not from the Gamsol. Now the danger, of course, when you put fresh, I think I need a new bottle. That one's a leaking. When you put fresh Gamsol on this, it will really pick it up, so you can see. But you can use that to your advantage for texture sometimes. Or you can just keep smudging it. Keep smearing it, and it'll even out. But I don't need it to be totally even, so I'm not too worried. Ugh, cobalt dryer. That is nasty shit. I haven't used that in a while. Ever since I had knocked over a bottle in my... it was like inside the tray on my French easel. And I was cleaning it up, and I got a little bit on my finger. No big deal, wiped it off right away. Over the next like 2 or 3 days, that finger just, like, the skin started to peel because it was drying out. And I was just like, yeah, okay. No more cobalt dryer for me. That shit sucks. So I'll use Galkid if I want to, like, kind of dry it out quicker. It's a safer way to go. Alright, pull out our kneaded eraser, but I'm going to let this dry a bit more. So I think it's still probably a little wet. And while it's drying, let's bring little pencils over here, because I'm going to throw some color on this. And this is where I'll just use my, the Faber-Castells. I like their range of colors more than Prismacolor. They're way more expensive. But in this set, which is, 60 colors, you get, 60 colors. Ooh, pretty. They're like candy. But I feel like some of my greens have gotten mixed up. And my limited OCD won't allow for it. There. In this 60 color set, you have such a better option of colors than you do for Prismacolor. Prismacolor, you would have to do, I think they have a 48 color and then a 72 color set, neither of which has as nice of an option of colors. To get to these same colors, you basically have to get Prismacolor's 120 color set, which I think is kind of ridiculous. And so I like Faber-Castell's color options. Plus, they do tend to be more archival. Overall, I think in that 60 color set, there were I want to say there were like 3 or 4 colors out of 60 that were like not too archival. And then in Prismacolor's 72 color set, I think there were like 10 that were really archival and the rest were like not very. So I'm like, that's not a good number for me. I don't like that. Alright. but they also feel very different. And the Prismacolors are softer. I think they have a higher pigment content, which is actually very nice to work with. The Faber-Castells do tend to be a bit harder, but for what I'm going to be doing, I actually kind of like that. So I'll treat them more like a glaze, which is a lot of fun. And then it was really annoying when I got the Prismacolor 120 set and the colors were not arranged. I was like, no! So I had to like go and arrange all 120 colors. Minor detail, but still annoying. Alright, let's see. You know what I should do before I get too far? Okay, with a bit of 70% gray. Because what I want a little bit more narrative in here. So my idea was that we'd be getting like, be catching a big shadow, right, being cast. That's actually the whole reason I just was like, oh, let's drop a bunch of mist or dust or something. So I basically just wanted like a giant shadow being cast here. So that's who she's challenging, not the viewer. Unless you are some kind of a giant demon, in which case, awesome. So I just wanted like, it's like just the head of this giant something. And I'll do this in the 70% gray because it just sits back a little nicer. I don't have to worry about it getting like super dark on me. Alright. Yeah, man. That's a dick move on their part. Where's my... move my pencils and... like, no, I need my erasers still. Sometimes I will forge ahead and realize that I have not considered all the things that maybe I should. Meaning I hadn't thought about, well, do I want this mist or dust or smoke to be lighter than what's behind or not? So we're just going to say yes. Why not? So this process, even though I'm removing pigment, it's essentially it's the same idea as like building up, right? Building up the lights, kind of. So I don't like to rush through it. What I'll first do is kind of go through and create some value separation, right? So if I want her skin overall to be lighter than what she's wearing, you know, the crazy amount of clothes that she's wearing, then I'll just kind of focus on that. Get her skin lighter, and then I'll worry about getting into like actual kind of highlights or a little more modeling of the form, that kind of thing. And let's just creating a little bit of separation between her, like her head and the background. I don't need a lot. Just a little. Yeah, and the time lapse can be tricksy. It's fun to see the whole thing appear in a minute, but yeah, it is obviously it's very different when you kind of see that one takes a lot more time than that. Two, you get to really kind of see the materials. So sometimes I can get away with that pink pearl, and sometimes it takes off way more pigment than I want. In which case, which is sometimes nice, because I can take something back to a much lighter place really quick with that pink pearl, but sometimes it's better to just scrub away with the like a kneaded eraser. Because then I'll come in with my little Tombow Mono Zero eraser in just a minute and do some more detail work. This little guy, Tombow Mono Zero. I love this thing. Yes, time lapse is so deceiving. It just doesn't show the struggle. But I think it's important to see that, you know, that's one of the reasons that I will post those little 1-minute real-time drawings on Instagram. Granted, they're simple, they're just like a profile or something like that, but I think it's important to kind of see that it's not all just like super quick and, you know, perfect from the get-go or anything like that. Of course, when I do something like that where I'm hitting the wrong spot. Where's my paper towel? Nice thing is, this will keep a little bit of moisture on it, so I can kind of come back in and sort of correct some little spots here and there if I need to. Yeah, I found myself at one point, I was getting like so kind of caught up in time lapses, doing them. I was watching a lot of time lapse videos, and I just found that, man, this thing does not want to dry. Downside of working in the winter when it's all much cooler, it doesn't want to dry completely, and then it's hard to predict what it's gonna do. Anyway, I was getting so caught up with time lapses that I found myself like trying to work faster in a bad way, and it was wasn't a good thing. So I had to just remind myself to slow down. And just remember that this stuff, it takes time. And that's not a bad thing. Like, hey, hang on. My cat was getting upset that the window wasn't open wide enough. So she was trying to open it, and that didn't work. I mean, I still like the the time-lapse aspects. I think one of the cool things about it is to kind of almost see a story unfold in front of you, and I think that's really fun. And obviously to show some process in a short amount of time, but as far as any kind of real experience of the process, it is not good for that. I mean, the amount of times that people on Instagram will say, like, oh, you make it look so easy. And it's like, well, everything looks easy in a minute. You know? If it's a 2-hour drawing condensed into a minute, yeah, it looks pretty easy. But it ain't. Not that easy anyway. Nor would I want it to be. feel like I would get really bored if it was actually as easy as a minute makes it look. I like the challenge. I like, pushing myself to like kind of figure things out, and everything's a little bit new, right? Everything kind of presents its own challenges, so it's fun. It is always work, but not in a bad way. Like, it just takes focus. Some meditation. At least for me, it's a meditation. I imagine this stuff is like some kind of leather. Like a rawhide kind of thing. So we'll catch some highlights. Alright, then it's a little bit of color. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, granted, there are some people that actually do make it look easy. Ian McKaig being a prime example. But yeah, I guess we know better. We know that there's the difference is that there's just a ton going on behind the scenes, right, in his head, and he's used to kind of thinking through this stuff really quickly, and or not, right? Like, shit, we're all gonna struggle at some point with any number of things. We all have our good days and bad days. What's funny is, like, I just could not. I knew I had to get some drawing done, especially before I jumped right back into work. And the last couple days, I was trying. I was really trying to just like, I gotta draw something, and I didn't feel like drawing anything, and that almost never happens to me. Like, it's very rare. And so finally I was just like, screw it, I gotta scan some shit, because I want to start putting a book together. And then as I was scanning, and I was, looking through all these older sketches, and it got me excited to do some drawing. So I was like, oh, that's cool. It's nice to know that I can inspire myself sometimes. No, I haven't been playing much Red Dead. honestly. Like, it's probably been a couple weeks since I opened up that game, or almost a couple weeks. I have not played it much lately. Okay, now we'll get into some color. A little bit of color. Red hair, oh my god. Who would have thunk it? Totally didn't see that coming. It's funny, you get so used to drawing things that you will do it without thinking. It's similar to like you pretty much only will crave food that you have often, right? It's a similar thing. Oh yeah, Red Dead is it's a beautiful game, and the second one is amazing, especially if you're on the PS4 Pro and you have a 4K TV and you're playing it in 4K. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's more that work got so crazy that it was pretty much just taking up all my energy for doing anything, and Red Dead didn't necessarily feel like unwinding, because I was like, I gotta get into a story and, be committed, and it was too much. I couldn't handle it. No, I'll get back into it, but I figured, you know what's more important right now? I gotta get back to drawing, and I gotta stream some more. I miss sharing stuff with you guys. Her cute rosy cheeks. And all this color will be really subtle when I go back to the front of the page. Some of it I will bolster up by putting some color on the front as well. But I actually really like how much the color will kind of kick back on the front. It gives it kind of a aged, sort of antique-y look, I guess. And then if I want to, I can always kind of, I can kick it up more. I can always flip it back to the back of the page and, punch it up. I think I will do. I will often on the back reinforce some of the accents. So that when I flip it back to the front, those accents will be, nice and dark and give it some punch. Yes, priorities are important. It's part of being a professional. Part of being a professional, and part of being, kind of obsessed with art. Let's grab... I'm not gonna go like full color. Just gonna hint at some colors. And what this will do when I flip it back over is it'll just kind of nudge. It'll just nudge colors around a little bit. Yeah, let's do a dark leather. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go with a more yellow leather or this kind of burnt sienna sort of color. And let's do body paint. Go all Braveheart blue. I'm just trying to decide how light or dark. So even though this looks like really hot, yeah, that's good. It actually won't be when I go transparent on it. I always it's so silly, but I get a kick out of the handprints because, you know, how else are you gonna apply it? You don't have some like artist there with a brush, your war paint artist, or maybe they did, I don't know, but it cracks me up and keeps me from taking myself too seriously. Don't mind the minions. That's just my text alert. Yeah, it's crazy going through like all the stuff that I've drawn and scanning stuff in, and I have like I'm not sure how many scanned in, 150 pieces I think scanned in right now. I still have more, and I haven't even really gone into my sketchbooks yet. So a lot of shit to scan. So I might end up with a really big book. At least a couple hundred pages. Depends on how much I want to triage shit. But at the same time, I don't mind having just like, some pages with really loose stuff on it. Like, I don't feel the need to... I mean, there's some that I'm like, no one cares about seeing that in a book. But for the most part, because I love the look of loose sketches, so I definitely want to like add that kind of stuff in there. So I'm just bringing back this 90% cool gray just to hit some accents, bolster up some of those darks. I'm not sure. I actually didn't even think about Design Studio Press. It's not out of the question. But it also kind of depends on, what kind of deal they would want to cover it, I kind of feel like I want to design the book myself, and I don't really know if they do that. And even though I know that's a lot of work, and maybe it would be better to work with someone to cover some of that design stuff, but I actually want the presentation of the book itself, like once you open it up, I actually want it to be pretty simple. I don't want it... In some cases, I might include some like short stories in there, but for the most part, I definitely want it to be pretty simple design. Don't want it to be too like I'll have some basic information, but more than anything, I want the images to be presented nice and big on the page, and with the exception of like some of the thumbnails and stuff that I put in. I would love if I could get them as close to like actual size as possible, but then you're getting into like something around an 11 by 17 book, and that's pretty big. But I would really love to get it on the little bit larger side, coffee table kind of a book. I don't really want them to be too small. So we'll see. Lots of scanning to do still. Yeah, let's see. see how this looks. Nice and kicked back color. I'm gonna kind of reinforce these shadows a bit. Where my 70 at? There it is. Let's reinforce some of these colors a little. This is also where I will come back in with a black. If I can find it. There we go. And then this is generally where I will kind of really start to pull out the details that I want. And then the ones I don't want, I'll just let them do their thing and fade off. Because we don't need every little aspect to be detailed out, right? That doesn't make for a terribly interesting image. Sometimes it does. There are people that do super detailed stuff and it just looks so cool. But it has to be built around that kind of a look. So I like to go the other way and just detail out a couple of things and let the rest of it be a little more painterly. But it's just a personal preference. There's no right or wrong. Well, as long as it's well done, there's no right or wrong. Let's see here. Yeah. So now this is this is what color is this? Ultramarine light. Wow. Apparently in German, that's ultramarine hell. Apparently their idea of hell is ultramarine light. Who knew? Might try bringing some white into this. Just into this blue. See what that does. Might work, it might not. I think I know what it'll do. Yeah, it just gives a kind of a... It's probably not even visible on the stream. But in real life, it gives it a bit of an opaque sort of feel. And let's do some little... One day, I'll be able to stream in like 4K in perfect resolution, and you guys will like see what I see, and it'll be awesome. But not today. Sorry. I'm going super light with this because I'm really just treating it like a glaze, and just like a subtle... I don't want to cover up what I have here already. I don't want it to like change the value too much. I just want to punch up the saturation. So I'm going super light. Again, probably not even really visible on the stream, but it made a difference on my end. So and you'll see when I post it on Instagram, you'll kind of probably see all the color and, you know, or at least some of the subtleties that aren't really visible on the stream. Yeah, but hopefully one day everyone will just be able to stream in like super high res. No doubt it'll wreak havoc on the poor little birds, though. But damn it, I want my high res streaming. I think I might just kind of wanted to kick this back a little. This is where 70% gray helps a lot on the front side to kind of unify shadows and smooth them out a bit. Because some of the others, you know, will tend to leave some more streaks, but I find that 70% tends to kind of, it's that perfect value where it's not too light, not too dark, and it just kind of helps unify that stuff a bit more and just give a stronger value grouping, I think. So I'll often just right at the end just kind of go through the shadows and kind of unify this stuff a bit more. Weird. All right. Let's see. I don't want to like over noodle it, because the whole point was really just to kind of get back in. But I'm happy with this one. It's fun. Cute. I had some kid yesterday on Instagram, and this is like one of my issues with social media, is that any dumbass kid can jump on and talk shit to a professional, right? And she was like, "Why do you only draw naked women? You're such a perv." And I was just like, dude, seriously? Like, one, my last few posts have not been naked women at all. Two, I'm like, why would you talk to someone like that? I don't know. I just deleted the comment because I wasn't going to get into it. I looked, she was like born in 2006 or something. You know, like, what the fuck? Alright, goodbye. So I just deleted the comment, but I was like, dude, you're ridiculous. You know, your parents know what you're doing. You're a little asshole. Fuck, man. You're like, that's not nice to just call someone a perv in, like, seriousness, you know? Online. That's not cool. My girlfriend can call me a perv. That's okay. I don't mind. But not some stupid little kid. Anyway. Social media at its finest. Although it's not just social media. I was at Trader Joe's one time. I had a bag of potato chips. Some little asshole kid who was like barely above my knee just like punched my bag of chips. I was like, dude, don't punch my chips. And he goes, I have 2 of those at home. I don't care. And his mom's just sitting there in line, talking. She didn't care. She didn't do anything. So it's not just social media. Kids are just kind of assholes, apparently. What are you gonna do? Get into arguments with children in the grocery store, apparently. He started it. Punched my damn chips. Dick. Super poor parenting skills, right? Like, come on, people. And every parent knows if their kid is an asshole, so, like, keep them in line. I don't understand. Anyway. Sorry, this little spot here is kind of bugging me. What I don't like is when some things look too much like a line rather than the form. You know, there are times that I want that, like around the contour. Totally cool, because I still try and do it in a way that's not distracting from the whole thing. But I don't like it when I have like a line in the center that calls attention to the flatness of the medium, right? So I try and kind of control that stuff as much as I can. And if I do put lines, then hopefully they also kind of read as form, so it doesn't flatten it all out too much. Again, it's a bit of personal preference, just given it's just based on what my goals are for an image. Not saying that like that's how it should be done, because there's nothing wrong with flattening something out if that's your intention. But it's not mine. So anyway, I'm gonna call this one done. Thank you guys for joining me. I will hopefully be able to get back to doing this. It was tough with the holidays, and then I ran into some technical difficulties with my computer before. And then I had to work. Busy. What are you gonna do? Thanks, MDR. I appreciate it. Thank you all so much for joining and watching. I hope it wasn't too boring. It looks like we ran, I don't know how long. How long did we run? Somewhere hour and a half, a little more maybe. I don't know. But that's cool. That's a good amount. And we'll see you next time.